This is WeatherScope.
Well, a major weather system dumps snow in the Midwest, triggers severe weather in the Southeast, and is now threatening to mess up the morning commute in the Northeast and New England. Hello, I'm Bob Stokes, and welcome to this edition of WeatherScope. As much as a foot of snow is piled up around Omaha, Nebraska. This is a very wet, heavy snow, so it's brought down trees and power lines, and that left thousands of homes without electricity. Now, you'll have a cold night as temperatures fall into the middle teens by morning. Then look for a snowmelt on Monday with temperatures around 40. As we said, this massive weather system also will affect your Monday morning commute in the big cities of the Northeast. We're working on this story from the Forecast Center tonight, and here's Christina Abernathy with an update.
Thanks a lot, Bob. We do indeed have this major storm system affecting much of the eastern half of the country. The big story has been snow. Now we're focusing our attention on severe weather and the threat for a messy commute for folks in the Northeast. Let's take a look at the players here. And of course, here's our area of low pressure, and we still are getting some snow around the north and west side of our area of low pressure here through northern Illinois and back into Michigan. We also have severe storms and heavy rain through the southeastern U.S. And finally, another area we're going to focus in on is here in the Northeast. As the storm heads your way, we may have some very messy conditions indeed for the morning commute. We're joined now by senior meteorologist Tom Moore. And Tom, we continue to follow the situation in the Northeast. We want to start out with what's going on in the Southeast, though, and that threat for severe weather and heavy rain.
Right, the storm has actually affected much of the United States, and it's still the whole eastern U.S. is under the guise of this storm, and certainly in the Southeast, where it's going to rain a lot. We're going to see plenty of thunderstorm activity coming up out of Florida into southern Georgia ahead of this cold front. So that's the area to really focus on: Jacksonville, southern portions of Georgia, maybe even down toward the Tampa Bay area in Orlando by morning, where the rain could inhibit some of the commuters there as well as the Northeast.
Okay, so we've got, again, the threat for severe storms. As a matter of fact, we've got a tornado watch in effect for part of northern Florida.
Right, especially down in this region. We have plenty of thunderstorms just training out of the Gulf ahead of this slow-moving cold front. These thunderstorms will run right up there into northern Florida, and of course, over the next few hours, this line will sink slowly to the south into central Florida by the early morning hours. And it looks like we have a little bit of a problem in getting our maps up, so we might as well just talk about this. And you know, we can, we'll do with what we have here. Lots of players, including this warm front coming out from the low. On the cool side of the front, we have some fog in Raleigh, but this front is going to move to the north as time goes on, and that'll bring more moisture into North Carolina to get rid of the fog. And as we have this warm moisture moving to the north, it's going to override cooler air, which is kind of sneaking down into New England around this high. And as we have that, the rain's going to continue to affect, say, the middle Atlantic area and into the Northeast. And where the air is very cold, places like Messina, New York, we have snow going on right now. In portions of northern New England, especially in the higher elevations, we could have 6 to 10 inches of snow before all is said and done.
Okay, we've got to look at our radar picture right here, and what's going on? What do we need to notice about this radar picture?
Basically, a tremendous amount of moisture coming into northern Florida. As the front makes a little bit of a progress to the east, all of this will sink to the south overnight. So anybody traveling in northern Florida between, say, the Jacksonville area, Cross City, and Ocala, you'll probably run into some heavy rain, strong thunderstorms, maybe even isolated tornadoes.
We see that wet weather extending up to the north, although not quite as impressive as it was earlier today. Folks in much of Georgia and the Carolinas a little quieter now.
Right, Christina, the cold front has moved on through most of the heavy weather out of the Carolinas, and now we're dealing with all this warm, moist air riding up into the northeast, where the rain is going to be increasing throughout the evening hours and into tonight.
So folks in New York, Boston, what can they expect as they wake up tomorrow morning?
New York City, some rain and wind, and then the warm front goes through and the rain abruptly ends. But this time of year, some of the leaves can clog the areas around the roadways, so we could have some localized flooding or ponding of the water. Boston, it looks like the easterly winds, gale force winds could continue, and it looks like an all-day rain, while areas inland may start as a mixture, like in Concord, of snow and sleet, and that'll change to rain. But in northern New England, the White Mountains, the Green Mountains, mountains of northern Maine, that heavy snow is going to fall, and that's where the winter storm warnings are in effect right on into tomorrow.
Okay, and I believe we can take a look at our other source, and this just gives us a better idea of what's going to be going on here.
Right, we have our high pressure to the north in Quebec. Very strong low coming up through the Ohio Valley, which is very unusual for this time of year, Christina. Many times we see this in December, and of course the combination of the moisture, the cold, and the warm moist air overriding all of that brings the rain at the lower elevations and the heavy snow in the higher elevations. Kind of early for this, but the first really big snow of the year for the mountains of northern New England.
And again, how many inches of snow are we expecting in northern New England and in through?
About 6 to 10 inches in the higher elevations, getting up around 4,000 feet or higher. At the lower elevations, around Concord or Bangor, maybe 2 or 3 inches, then going over to rain. In the coastal areas, Boston and Worcester, on up into, say, Portland, Maine, precipitation should all be in the form of rain, but kind of a windy, raw day, the kind of day where the wind just kind of penetrates through your clothing and really not all that great. But then again, there's always Tuesday, and things will be better by then.
Okay, so once again, focusing on the severe weather tonight in the southeastern U.S. Folks in northern Florida, southern Georgia have already picked up several inches of rain. There's a potential for even more as we're seeing sort of training going on there. And then as we head to the north, we'll be focusing our attention on into the northeastern U.S. That's how it stands right now. So thanks a lot, Tom, for your insight. We'll check back in with you a little later on. But for now, we want to head back to the studio with the details on the rest of the country's weather with Bob.
Thanks a lot, Christina. While northern parts of the Lone Star State have freeze advisories in effect for tonight, conditions in the northwest are much different with rain coming in. But let's focus on that forecast for tonight. You can see the lows Monday, 45 degrees in New York City, which Tom and Christina were talking about. Boston, 43, and expect that rainfall to come in, and 36 in Portland, Maine.